Hi, Carol McRae here from Mind Body Magic in Dubbo. Today I'd like to talk to you about psychic protection. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about some of the experiences I've had, and in another recording I'm going to give you a technique to put up your own protection. So when we talk about psychic protection, what we're really talking about here is energy. And I want you to remember, on a quantum physics level, we are all energy and information. We've all used different techniques, whether that is body language first to keep somebody physically at bay from us, but we can use energy techniques as well. So we might need psychic protection for going into a room where we know somebody's going to accost us, where we find that there are people we would call energy vampires, so that we're not allowing them to take our energy from us or take all our attention and make us feel absolutely drained. And as a healer and a Reiki master and teacher and a clinical and 5-path hypnotherapist and Touch for Health kinesiologist, I'm working with clients every single day, so I need to protect my energy so that I'm not allowing myself to be absolutely drained at the end of the day. Now, there are lots of techniques we can use. Firstly, I would say make sure you're well hydrated and make sure that you're putting down roots so that you feel grounded wherever you go. And some of the other things that a lot of people use are things like putting a white light around them, and probably everybody's heard about white lighting, but now I'm going to talk about some of the experiences that I've had where I've needed that psychic protection. So psychic protection can be used for people that are with us at the moment, but it can also be used so that we're feeling safe and protected from different energies and possibly entities as well. Now, all of you have had the experience of walking into a room and perhaps there's been an argument, and you've picked up on that simply by walking into that room. And what I want you to remember is, around each body we have an energetic field known as the aura. So think of it on a quantum physics level. Every atom has electrons, neutrons, protons, and therefore every atom has an electromagnetic charge. So if every atom in our body has a charge, so does every cell, every organ, and in fact the whole body has an electromagnetic charge. And I could teach you how to feel that energy in your hands in just a couple of moments. But the body has this field around it known as the aura. Now, that aura brings in information, and it also can send out information. And what we want to do is just tune in and use that information that we're gaining from that extra sense that is known as our energy field. I know sometimes when I'm working with a client, as soon as they're sitting in that chair, I can pick up on their energy, even if they've got their eyes closed and I've got mine closed. I can sometimes see visions, I can hear words, and I can just know things about them. Just this instant knowing of something that happened to them at a certain age when they were a child. And this happens fairly regularly, and probably because I've been doing this work for more than 20 years now. And you just find that it's a natural thing that develops the more you're used to tuning into people's energy field. So when we talk about protection, it can also be about picking up on psychic cords, or the transfer of other people's thought forms towards us. When somebody's giving you daggers with their eyes, they may be sending that energy out towards you. Now, we can also talk about that when it comes to entities, and the types of entities, of course, are things like ghosts and spirits and other thought forms that can be created. And although we don't like to talk about it, sometimes there can be dark energies that come around as well. And what we want to do is really make sure that we feel safe and strong. Knowing you are protected actually is your protection, but many of us need these other little things to help us gain those feelings of safety and protection. And once you've kind of used them, they're really like training wheels. And once you've done that, you'll find that nothing will bother you once you know that you are safe. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the times I've had to use my protection, and ways I've used energy to clear places as well. So when I was doing my master's training, my Reiki master's training, I did that training out at Broken Hill on a sheep station 35 kilometres out of the city. And this beautiful property was actually in the middle of an area where all the ground was quartz rock. And so when I got there, I went for a walk with Marilyn Bretherick through this beautiful dried creek bed and off into these areas where there is all this magnificent rock. And what quartz does is actually magnify energy as well. So when I went to bed that first night, and this is probably what you'd think of as a scary story, but I went to bed that first night, and it was in the middle of winter out in Broken Hill, as I said, and what I found was that there was a tapping on the wall. Now, every time I would turn my light on, which was powered by a car battery, that tapping and the noise would stop, and as soon as I turned it off, the noise would start up again. So, of course, that freaked me out a little bit. And I used my Reiki protection symbols, which people learn in level 2 classes. And I drew that protection symbol in each corner of the room and then dragged it down to the center and then did one in the center of the room. So I knew my room was safe, but this damn thing was making all this noise and keeping me awake. And at one stage, at 1:30 in the morning, I heard bagpipes playing. There was a soldier, a Scottish soldier. Now, I did feel uneasy about the whole thing because usually those things don't come into my field. And when I got up the next morning, I went over and said, "Oh my gosh, you've got a ghost over there." And they said, "Oh, sorry, did he bother you?" And it really did surprise me. And I went, "Oh." And they said, we cleared the 2 end rooms when we first bought this property. And I told them about the Scottish soldier sound. And they said, yes, we do believe that the fella that was haunting that place was a soldier and his mother was in this house. And so we got the 4 Reiki masters and we stood on each corner of the building and we had to put our hands up like this. And all of us had to say at the same time, "As a representative of the human dimension, I command you to leave this place and go to the light or wherever you need to go, grow and evolve. You're not welcome here and you cannot stay." Now, the thing is, humans have got dominion over everything. So we did that 3 times, and then suddenly I looked at the person down this side and then I looked at the person up that side. Now, they could not see each other, but I just looked and we all felt this cold wind come up at the same time. And I just mouthed to each of them, "Did you feel that?" And of course, everybody, the 4 of us all felt the same feeling as whatever that negative energy was that was there as it lifted. And so, of course, the next night I stayed up talking to Marilyn's husband and sort of counselling him till about 1 o'clock in the morning. And he said, "Would you like me to walk you back over?" Now, my room was in the shearer's quarters, 100 metres from the house. And we had to cross this creek bed, this dry creek bed, to get to it. And I just said, "No, it'll be right. I'll be fine." And I had a torch. So I was walking over and Michael went back inside the house. And even though it was a very still night, the shed door started banging and I could just hear it bang, bang, bang. And of course I ran over to my room. And then all night, even though there was no noise in my building, there was about 20 metres away in the meat preparing room, there was still noise going all night. And a little bit noisy out here in the front garden. And so of course I was a little freaked by the noise of it all, but I just had a chuckle and I thought, well, I'm safe, and I just wish it had quietened down so I could get some sleep. And the next night I went in and stayed with my girlfriend Tony in Broken Hill because I thought, no, I'm here for a week. I want to really just get enough rest so that I'm going to be okay and be able to take in everything I need to take in. Now, after that experience, I've had lots of other experiences as well. So my husband and I ran Chizen Health Club for 10 years, and I was teaching Reiki classes there as well. In fact, I've got more than 600 students who've trained with me, probably more likely about 700 by now. And on one occasion, I had one of my students who was running a business, and she was running a massage centre not that far away from mine, and she told me that she felt that somebody put a hex on her building. She saw this person glaring at her from across the road, and from that time everything had gone downhill. So I just said to her, I'll come at lunchtime, and I walked into her building, And as soon as I walked in, I said, gosh, there's really stagnant chi or energy in here. You need to get the windows open and let the energy flow through for starters. And she said, none of the windows will open because we've just painted when we first came, and that none of them will open. And I said, nonsense, this window over here will open. And I just went over and lifted it straight up, no problem at all. And they all kind of looked at each other, but I just had that knowing. So I went and I cleared each room with my Reiki protection. And by the time I finished, I said, it just feels fine in here now. And she said, yeah, it does. It feels different. And a week later, they rang and said their phone had not stopped ringing. Their business was going really well. Now, I also taught my one of my other students, Nicole Horder, who many of you will know. Nikki's mum has a beauty salon, and at one stage she told me that everybody was afraid to go at the back, that there was something in the back, some negative energy, and would I help her? And I said, certainly. And of course, me with my sense of humour, as I walked in, I was playing Ghostbusters on my phone. And I taught Nick how to do it, and we just went and cleared the whole place. And after that, everything was fine. I had another client once ring me, and she said, and she's now become another friend, and she rang me and said there was something in her home and that her little girls had been wetting the bed, and would I come and have a look? And I said, certainly, not a problem. So again, I went up and played Ghostbusters as I went into the place. And when I got there, I said, show me around. So she took me on a tour of the house, and I said, this is the room, isn't it? And she said, how did you know? And I said, there's something behind you, and it's about 2 foot wide or 60 centimeters wide, and it's a round circle, and it looks like that shimmer you get on the edge of the road when you're looking down the highway on a hot summer's day, but it's got a really defined boundary. And she said, yep, that thing follows me around the house. So again, I did my protection. I went and used my Reiki, and I did a few other things, and went to each room and just did the protection over the whole house. And a week later, she rang me and said the little girl had stopped bedwetting, and everything felt a whole lot better. And I had another time where I cleared a motel, and there were 80 rooms in that motel. And when I finished the rooms, I said to the owners, oh, who killed themselves in this motel? And she said, well, the wife of the owner hung herself, but not here. And I said, no, it was in it was in your motel, and I could even tell you which room. And then I also said to her, in this corner here, there was a cot and a little girl, 2 or 3 with their hands up crying. And they said, yeah, this was the room they had their little girl in. So we can pick up on information, and it's just quite uncanny when you start to trust it and just verbalise it, and you'll usually get confirmation. But what I did was I did that protection, and I did clear every room, and at the end of that time, after that, their business started to take off, which was wonderful to know that the negative energy was gone from the place. And so they're just some of the ways that you can use protection. You can use it over buildings. You can use it to clear negative energy out of places. But there are other ways that we can use it as well. Now, with my hypnotherapy training, I've done a thing called spirit releasement training. Now, this is kind of a little bit weird, but and I don't often tell people about this either. But with the spirit releasement training, what we want to do is clear away any attachments, which could be souls from other lifetimes that are attached, and sometimes that'll happen. And in hypnosis, we can find out when they attached and what their purpose is and all the rest of it. We can also find that there can be vows from the past, vows of poverty from past life things, which again we can talk about in another session. And what we can do is we can go through hypnosis and clear all those things. But I had another fellow who was a schizophrenic fellow, and when he came in to quit smoking, and I got clearance from his medical team. And of course, when we did his hypnosis, this voice came up, And I just said, I want to talk to the one who owns the voice, because I know I am always divinely protected. I've always got this shield around me, and I've got roots out the soles of my feet as well. And so what we did is basically we talked to it, and the Christian story is that first God created angels to do his bidding. Then he created mankind, but he gave mankind free will. Now, some of the angels didn't like that, and they claimed free will for themselves, and then they became fallen angels. And so in my book, they're just simply lost souls. Now, I believe this fellow had some of those lost souls attached to him. And often we'll find if people are using drugs or alcohol, or they've got mental health issues, they can have holes in their aura, which means things can attach. And so we did a clearing. We called in Archangel Michael to wrap this being, or these energies or entities, in a shield of light and send a lightning bolt through its heart. We called in other light beings, angels and guides, and anyone else that needed to be there to assist in the process, and we commanded it to leave and go to the light or wherever it needed to go, so it could go and grow and evolve. And as we spoke to this being, we also then were able to call in one of the angels that knew this one before this lost soul had fallen, and tell them what he needed to know so he could go home. And before he left, before this energy left from this poor fellow, I just said, are there any others of lower rank than you? Any others of higher rank, or any others of equal rank? And he said, there are thousands, there are thousands. And I said, tell them what they need to know so they can go home and be healed in the light as well. And I gave him a few minutes, and I said, so what's happening now? And he said, we're leaving, we're going back to the light, we're going home to be healed. Now, as the boy sat there, his body physically became lighter. And I said to him, are there any left? And he said, there's one here on my forehead. And I just put my hand on his forehead and Reiki'd his forehead, and suddenly he just went like this. And then he just said, they're gone, they're gone. Now, the exciting thing was that 18 months later, I ran into this fellow in the supermarket, and of course, he told me he had